Hey, this is Corey. Just dropping in to do a quick video on some movies I've been watching and just a little update what's been going on. I want to apologize. Definitely been a longer gap in between videos that I was originally trying to expecting to do when I started my channel up. The last 3 weeks have kind of been crazy. We've had a couple weeks with family visiting. I came down with a head cold that was throwing my voice off like crazy. And here we are, almost 3 weeks later, I believe. So hopefully I can get back on a more of a routine and get some more or videos out more often for you. But that's where we're at. And speaking about where I'm at, you probably maybe have noticed from my first video to a couple others that I'm in a little different spot. I was trying to find an area that I wouldn't be bothering the family quite as much, dragging, and I might not have to drag everything out and put it up and tear it down, everything, each time when I'm trying to do a video. So I found this little corner. Still figuring out the desk, the computers, the cabling, and I know I have this big blank wall behind me, so I'm going to be looking at trying to spruce that up here sometime in the future. But hopefully, this will help get me back on a schedule, being able to make some more videos more often. So thanks for hanging in there with me. But we're going to jump into a couple movies I've been watching. These are mostly community recommendations, and I got to say that I really enjoyed all of these. So it was a great 3 weeks that I was able to watch some of these videos. Definitely haven't been watching all the movies that I've normally have, so really glad to get these movies in. But just to start off, the first one was David at Film Collector Archive. I was actually chatting with him on one of his videos on a separate movie that he was doing a unboxing and review of, and he threw out one to watch was The Incredible Shrinking Man. This one I really loved. I really like sci-fi movies. That was something I loved as a kid, still really hang on to, and picked it up in one of the last Criterion sales. And this was one that has following a man that's exposed to this unknown substance, and all of a sudden he's just starting to shrink more and more as the days pass. And it's him and his wife trying to deal with this, trying to work with doctors and scientists and figuring out if there's a way to stop or reverse the effects of this that he's been experiencing. It was really cool to see back in, I believe it was 1957, that the movie was made, how they did all the special effects with it. So there was a lot of practical effects that I thought were cool, where, as he's getting smaller, you can tell, but they're usually using bigger props and set pieces for him when they're doing shots with him to convey that smaller size compared to other people that are in the room. And then there are some other visual special effects to go about this. So it's them dealing with this, and to a point where he gets so small that he's now in a very dangerous world. Everything is so large around him. So it goes from sci-fi for the shrinking to an adventure movie, where the basically where he's at in the house becomes this, very dangerous, almost wilderness type of situation that he's trying to live through. And then, as David threw out, there is some commentary, some, I guess, deeper thoughts at the closing of this with the monologue with the main character that was really interesting and gives you something to think about. So yeah, definitely hit a lot of different things with this movie, and really glad that he suggested it, and glad I have it in my collection now. The next one is one that I recently saw Ryan with Movies with Ryan speaking about on one of his videos. And he said, I believe it was suggested to him by Culture Trini. So I've had good luck with hearing movies that they like a lot. So I went ahead and just did a blind buy with it. And that is I Am a Hero. This is a zombie film out of Japan, and it's going to be one that it's Japanese language, English subtitles, but it's following this main character that is kind of down on his luck. He's kind of a low on the rung of work and society itself, and really just feeling down and out. And it's like one of those stories that I think is appealing to me, where he just feels like he's nothing. He's people have exceeded him in work, found success. He's still kind of spinning his wheels. He gets kicked out of the house by his girlfriend, and then this zombie outbreak happens. And so some of it's a little cookie cutter, where it's zombie outbreak, you get bitten, you get infected, and you turn into the zombie. But it's him getting put in some of these situations where, some of it he's reluctant to step up and do something, but he's finding more and more, I guess, something deep inside where he's able to finally start taking some of those steps and, truly living his life and making a difference in some other people around him and trying to survive this, horrible situation. But if you don't mind subtitles, definitely recommend this one. It was one I'd never heard of. Glad I got the recommendation and glad I got it into the collection. The next one, this is one I've heard before, never really saw it. But Tiffany with Let's Get Cinematic. I was commenting on one of her videos and she threw out that it was definitely worth checking out, but Knock at the Cabin. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of this before. The situation of a family in this cabin out in the woods. These four strangers show up and basically say the world is ending. And the only way to stop the world from ending and saving humanity is for this family to choose one within them to sacrifice them. So it's basically choose one of your family to sacrifice to save all humanity, or the world's going to end. And so it's one of those where throughout the movie, is this true or not? Are these people crazy or telling the truth? I liked this movie. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad Tiffany suggested it. I felt the ending fell a little flat for me. So it was one of those, I got to the end of it and I was kind of like, oh, that's it, huh? So, but I would say it's definitely worth a watch. So if you find it on a streaming service or rent it, or like this, it ended up going on a really good sale. So I grabbed it and I'm glad I got it in there. It's definitely worth a watch. And I think I just had steered clear a little bit of it. I've been kind of hit or miss with some of M. Night Shyamalan's movies. There's definitely some of his original, like older ones that I really enjoyed, but there have been a few kind of recently that I think fell a little flat for me. But definitely thought this was definitely worth a watch. So the next one I'd heard on a stream, Tony with Basement Blues had talked about this and suggested it, and it's Buried with Ryan Reynolds. Now this is one that is very different, and I was wondering how it would work. It is definitely a one location, almost one man show of this movie. He wakes up, he's buried basically in a coffin, in a box, buried in alive. And it's him trying to find answers of what's going on and how to survive this situation. Like I said, I kind of was questioning how they would pull that off for a full-length movie. It's definitely not a real long movie, but still, I kind of wondered how far they could go and it would still be entertaining. I was entertained with it. I don't know how many times I'll go back to revisit it, but I'm glad I have it in the collection, glad I saw it, and it's definitely broke out of some of the normal movies or normal movies, but movies I've been watching lately, and something completely different. So it was really good to have a little mix of things there. So the next one I have was recommended to me by Gizmo, and that is Tell No One. This is a French thriller, so French language, English subtitles, of a man and his wife that are out at their family cabin at the lake, and she's murdered. I'm not spoiling anything. It's written on the back. It's on trailers, but she's murdered, and you meet back up with him 8 years later, and he's still, of course, reeling from that death and trying to cope with it still and go through his life. Then all of a sudden, there's a couple more bodies that are found in the same location where his wife was murdered. The case gets opened back up. There's a lot of questions. He becomes a suspect in the murder of his wife, and there becomes this kind of cat and mouse chase with the police and him trying to prove his innocence. And then out of the blue, he gets these mysterious emails hinting at and showing some videos, and he then begins to question whether his wife is truly dead, and if she's not, what happened to her, where is she at, and trying to find these answers and then elude police to prove his innocence as well. So I highly recommend this. It was great. I love that Gizmo threw this out there. It was one that he had threw a poll out on YouTube, kind of asking like, what kind of countries do you normally watch for movies? And, it's like North America, Asia, Europe, what have you. And I just made a comment that, for me, it was probably North America, but it wasn't always by choice. It's just that's what's so readily available and pushed in our markets. But I love to see movies from other countries because a lot of times you can get exposed to a lot of different storytelling, a lot of different styles that get you out of the old rut of the movies that you're watching. So he started throwing out a bunch of suggestions. So I'm slowly picking up some of those and watching through those. But Tell No One was a great one, and I would highly recommend it if you want to track that down on streaming, or pick up this. It wasn't too expensive for the Blu-ray, so I was glad to have that in the collection now as well. The last one was actually a suggestion that I got from my mom. So I was telling her that I had watched Summertime with Katharine Hepburn and really enjoyed it. It was a little different for me because it's kind of a romance story set in Rome. Wasn't always my cup of tea, but it definitely was one that I enjoyed. I picked it up a Criterion sale, and really glad to have it in there. And she just said, well, if you like that, there's an older movie that she had seen that she thought was worth a try, and that was Three Coins in a Fountain. So this one is also set in Rome, in Italy, where you're following these three women that are secretaries for different people kind of higher up in the social rings of things in Rome, and them kind of growing in the city. They are each at different stages. Some had been there for a while. One was new, fresh from America, and it's them living life, figuring things out, and, falling into love, finding their romance within Rome. It was a little corny for me, but I enjoyed watching it, and I love that it was a suggestion from my mom, so I definitely wanted to make sure to watch that. But it was one that was up for Best Picture nominee in 1954, and it's just saying that it was also brought home Oscars for Best Music and Cinematography, and I definitely can see the cinematography. It's shot beautifully, a lot of beautiful shots of Rome in the city, and then also going out into the Italian countryside. Definitely, you kind of watch that and makes you want to go visit. So those are the movies that I've watched, and I love getting these suggestions from the community because a lot of those are not ones that I would have either heard of or might not have picked out to watch right away. But, through those suggestions, I put it, towards the top of the list and was very glad I did. So let me know what you think of if you've seen any of these movies, give me your thoughts, what you thought, if you liked them, didn't like them, or if you have some suggestions of your own. I love getting more of them. So any movies that you've recently watched that you think are worth checking out, or ones that you don't think get enough attention or might not be, as known as some of the big blockbuster movies that usually get pushed on the markets, let me know in the comments. I'll definitely take a look at those, see if I can get my hands on them, and, might be doing a little quick review and talk about them on a future video. So like I said, thank you for hanging with me for that longer than expected wait between videos. And hopefully we'll be getting more and more of these out on a more regular basis. So thanks for hanging with me. And I hope you all are doing well, and we'll talk to you here soon. Bye.